Okay, I just want to go through this one more time. We have Chris, Craig, David, Gail, Deb, Matthew, Natasha, Patrick, and Paul. Did I miss anyone?
Only it was Greg, not Craig.
Very good.
Yep, and Craig is also here, though.
Oh, okay. I didn't see his name. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at 12:09 p.m. And sorry. So Gail just sent me comments about the regulations. And Gail, do you mind leading? I mean, I can go right ahead if you don't want to, if you want to chime in, but.
No, the comments that I made were all typographical. And I think we've talked about it, if not in this section, in another section. One of them had to do with every place it says site cleanup activities should be waste site cleanup. That was one. The other one is that decision making is hyphenated, and sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but it is in fact hyphenated.
Okay, and do you hold on. Do you think it should be hyphenated, Gail? Is that your position?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody else, do you agree with it being hyphenated decision making? Okay. I'll make those corrections. Sorry, go ahead, Gail.
And excuse me?
This is Greg. Gail, why is it hyphenated?
It's hyphenated because it's a combined word. The word decision making has a meaning that's associated with a particular task. Grammatically, it's hyphenated. What?
It's not because it appeared that way in the enabling legislation.
No, but the original, the rest of the document, it's hyphenated.
Okay.
As it should be.
Thank you.
And we had to be consistent, but there's a reason why it's hyphenated. It's like a combined word. It's in the process. Maybe someday it'll be all one word, like groundwater. Groundwater used to be hyphenated, actually. First it was two words, then it was one word, then it was hyphenated, and now it's one word. The other comment was a small, just one section. It was missing periods when it introduced the topic and then went straight to the what the topic was, but it had to have some kind of punctuation between them, and the rest, other examples of that had a period. So I just noted that.
Okay, so I will make those corrections. I knew about the everything other than the periods. I just haven't had time to put it in. Okay, so those are your corrections, Gail?
I think that's, there's one spot where there was a double space, but that's highlighted too, so you'll see it.
Okay, double space. Thank you. These things are important as we get down to the wire in terms of formatting. So, yes. All right. So, my email and about notations and corrections to section 2.0. Should you have any, please just email them to me, and I'll make sure that we discuss them at the next board meeting in August as we get the calendar set. But I wanted to go through, as I indicated, the changes that are going to be the changes that are going to be necessary once we move to online formatting and payment of fees and all other things. LSP, I'll get to that during the course of the board meeting and give you a full rundown on where we are with online payment and registration and application and everything else. But I wanted to talk about the sections that I have seen that are going to have to be changed in section 2.0. And so they have to do primarily with the notice requirements. So I looked at 2.0, specifically 2.08, 2.09, 2.10, 2.11, and I went through the rest of all. I actually went through all of the regulations, but I'd like to, since we're working on 2.0, deal with that and get suggestions from the board members about changes. So starting with 2.8, I'm sorry, 2.08, the application fee.
Hey Beverly, this is Craig. Is the wording going to be changed to allow for the electronic in this version?
I'm sorry.
Is the wording going to be changed right now versus the money order and the check to electronic as well?
There's an echo, Craig. I'm so sorry. Are there going to be changes to?
For the electronic throughout the places, let's check the money order and electronic payment.
Oh, is it just me, or is Craig breaking up for everyone? I'm sorry.
It's breaking up for me too.
Okay.
I think he wants to know if the changes for the electronic version in the application fee will be inserted into the regs, because right now all it says is payment shall be made in full by check or money order payable to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This application fee is non-refundable. So once the electronic fee payment option is available, I guess he's wondering if that will be put into the regulations so that it'll actually say you can pay electronically and not just by check or money order.
Right. Well, that's what we're doing, Craig. We're going through, hopefully, we're going through this and finding sections that need to be changed. And I'm looking for language that we can just a template that we can just kind of insert where it talks about notice and paying and mailing. So I want to, and I understand we may not get through all of that right now, but I want you to be thinking about it, as I said in my email. I don't know that there are going section by section. I'm looking at 2.08. I don't know that anything there has to be changed because payment can still be made. It's just all payments, still checks have to be made to the payable to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The same with money order, and nothing is refundable. Does anyone think that any of that needs to be changed?
Will the applications also be online? Because if they are.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Maybe I should, Gail, you've raised a good point. Maybe I should say this. Everything, and I'll go into detail when I get to the item on the board meeting agenda, but everything is going to be online. Payment,
and in that case,
fees,
yep.
Applications, renewals, annual fees, nothing is, the only thing that will be mailed are the wall certificates. That is, everything is going to be automated, even with respect to application review panels. We'll still have those calls, but all the forms will be generated automatically, recusal forms. You're just going to get an email on that, board members, and you will respond by email. Like I said, it's kind of awkward to talk about. I'm putting the proverbial horse cart before the horse, but yeah.
Well, then Beverly, will you be accepting checks also?
Yes, for 35 cents. For 35 cents, yes, we will be.
So,
and the other option, Gail, too, is people will still be able to mail in. We're discouraging mail. We're discouraging that option, but everything is going to be online, guys. Everything. I'll go over that in detail.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
So, sorry. I think the problem is that the way the language currently reads, it doesn't say you can or by electronic submission. And that's the issue.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
place it says this, where you can do it by check or money order, it has to also say or online, whatever. There has to be language, correct language to explain that situation.
That's right. That's right.
So this would be an example of where that would have to change. If you're making lists, this is one example.
Okay. So under 2.08, Gail, what was your suggestion?
Oh, I don't have a suggestion yet because I don't know what language you want to use, but basically every place it
Okay.
says check or money order, you say or online payment, I think, or something, whatever everybody thinks is correct, but it should also say or online payment.
This is
Okay.
Paul here. Could you make it more general and say, hey, payment should be made in full via acceptable means of the board, which includes, but not limited to check, money order, and that allows change if need be down the road.
Okay, hold on,
Yep.
Paul. Repeat that for me, would you?
I was going to say, well, so this would really apply to 2.09. It says your payment shall be made in full by check or money order. If you made that more general and say payment shall be made in full by, means acceptable to the board or means established by the board.
Yeah. Okay.
Which
I got
include but not limited to electronically, check, or money orders, something along those lines.
Okay, hold on. By the board, which includes payment online or by check or money order. I'll tweak that. That's really good.
Yeah.
Check or money order. Gail, you agree? Yes?
Oh yeah, that's the right way to do it because it does allow for the future, like when we take Venmo.
Okay. Oh yeah, right. Okay. if Venmo is still around, then okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's good general language and Gail, what I decided to do with your comment, what I will do is do a search for check or money order throughout the document. And that will put me where I need to be to include your comment.
It might not be only check or money order. It might also be something written like the annual fee, like the form. The forms, it might not have check or money order. It might have also forms.
Yeah, we're only doing 2.0 today, but I have for successive board meetings gone through the entire regulations through 9.0, not specifically searching for check or money order, but searching for the comments that I outlined in my email, primarily payment, registration, those sorts of things, looking for anything that has to do with notice. So we're only going to work on 2.0 today. Now we're up to 2.10, issuance of notices. And so I'm thinking, and receipt of notices. So I'm thinking maybe I can tweak the language that Paul just gave us to meet the circumstances for 210 and 211. Any comments about that suggestion?
Maybe that's the way, and I think that makes perfect sense to go through the whole thing and use that kind of manner acceptable to the board, include the ones that we know about that are still, that we know are acceptable right now, or will be in the very short time frame.
Right, because if you look at 2.10 and 2.11 have to do with mailing and blah, 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 all of that, and it's not going to be that way anymore. There will be a mail-in option, but it's the lesser preferred method. And I'm sure most 447 or so LSPs will want to use the online option. So, but we do have to, some of these notices are, have to do with revocation, suspension, and are very important. And so we have to make a decision about whether or not you want this to still be by certified mail, because we are going to, when you file documents with the board, or the board sends you a notice, it's going to be electronically date stamped. There will be a transaction number for everything that LSPs do within the online system. So they will they will receive a receipt via email. Administrators who work within the system will be able to go in and see what's there and send or receive a receipt.
I have a question for you on the there are some things that I know are legally supposed to go certified mail to confirm receipt. How would that work electronically? Because can it be automatically understood that somebody actually opened some? I mean, you don't have that signature saying they've received it. And so just because it says confirm receipts, you could override that and not send one.
Well, the thing about that, Gail, is what notice requires is not that it be received. If you look at notices, it says if it shall be deemed received when delivered. I'm looking specifically at 211 section 1.
Yep.
Section 211 subpart 2. It's deemed received when signed for. Maybe that will have to be checked.
That's the one I'm talking. That kind of situation where it would otherwise have to be sent by certified mail, right? The ones that that legally we have to send by certified mail. That's the problem that I see that has to be addressed.
Okay, I'll work on some language for that because we're getting away from paper. An electronic date stamp with a transaction number to me is exactly what the United States Postal Service does. If you recall last year when we had LSPs with issues about receipt of notice regarding annual fees, we had a tracking number from the post office, and that was it. And so I believe that if we legally have a tracking number, because you can file documents in court and all you get is an electronic receipt. So I think that having an electronic receipt and a transaction number is just as good as having a postal tracking number. United States Postal Service
hold up
tracking
legally. I mean, I guess I'm asking, what is the legal profession doing with that, or basically the judicial system, whoever it is, going to be making final decisions? How are they accepting situations where there is not, where things are done electronically now? What is their electronic version of certified mail? Are they accepting it? That's the real question. That's all I care.
Yes, that you can file documents electronically within Massachusetts. I don't know about the federal court system. I'd have to check. But you can file a complaint, you can file an answer, you can file a motion, and you can do that electronically through the Massachusetts judicial system. And I'm presuming you get some kind of receipt from the court that it's been received. But
that's not the situation I'm thinking of, Beverly. I'm thinking of the ones where you have to send it certified mail for, and it has to be signed for to prove that you actually received it. That legally, there are certain situations that has to happen.
Yes, but in this case, I'm looking specifically at section 2. We're not going to send certified mail. We don't need to. And it's whether or not it's because the electronic document is going to be forever there, unless, of course, there's some hacking or something awful. I can't say forever, but it will not be signed for. It will not, it's deemed received when it's signed for or by the person or agent. So I think that we would just have to tweak that language to say that it's being received when there's a receipt from the Acela server.
Yeah, it has to be something, because we're talking about people when they leave their jobs, their email goes dead, And
Well, now that's
theoretically, the board would get notice of that, I would hope, but sometimes somebody,
well,
I don't know what the individual companies do in those instances.
okay, well, it's not the company. First of all, change of address is incumbent on every LSP.
Oh.
And so they can electronically change their address. Everything is going to be online. And so I'm not arguing with you, Gail. I'm trying to go back and forth so we can see if we can get something that satisfies our regulatory requirements and meets the ultimate standard of notice and opportunity to be heard. So the first responsibility is to make sure the LSP gets the notice, receives it. And so, but you asked about specifically about the mass judicial system, and I don't know again about the federal court system, but for the mass judicial court system, you can file anything electronically. Okay. And I don't know whether they require an additional paper document, but everything is done online now through the court system. So I think
then I have another question. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
no, go ahead.
Section
another
2,
question.
I think what you've raised is a good point, and I think that Section 2 needs special attention because of the certified mail requirement.
But then, if you get, and this is what it'll happen. Sorry, Beverly. Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
There's a delay. What I was going to say is, realistically, you should get, if somebody is no longer at a company, you should get the thing, addressee not found or something like that. That should come back to the board. So then, whose responsibility is it? Is it the board's to do something about getting that to them? But all we'll know is that apparently they didn't get it because we got this notice. I understand they're responsible for changing their address. I'm just thinking of last year's experience. That's all.
Okay. Well, it says under Section 2B that if the Postal Service returns as unclaimed or refused, then the notice was mailed.
Okay, that's fine. That would count.
So that covers your particular scenario. That if we get a error message that the person no longer works for the LSP board, bouncing back, and so your message was undeliverable, that is under, if it was what we have to think about is, if this was a real mailed item, what would happen? And what the regulations, going back to that language, says is if it comes back unclaimed, it still went out.
I know people are supposed to put their change address, and one of the things we might want to point out too, this would be a good tip for the LSPA to reiterate in a news, whatever, somewhere, to everyone to make sure they do that, because this is the consequences when we're going to this electronic system. It'll be even more important.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the collaterals are going to have to change their information as well. It's going to be necessary. It's going to be necessary, and we set the standard for that. So we've got to get our language together first. And I'll talk more about IT and the website and what we're doing with all of that when I get to that item on the board meeting agenda. Okay, so I'm looking at, we're at 12:33 on time. I just want to try and finish 2.0 language, and we're almost there. So what I'll do for the next meeting is work on language, trying to tweak what Paul has given us and what Gail has given us, and see if I can do something with the regular mail, because I believe that if you send something and it comes back undeliverable, that's the same. We'll have a tracking number, just like the post office would. We'll have a delivery failure notice, just like the post office would. I think that there are ways that I can work this and get your suggestions on how to finalize the language. Is that okay with the rest of the regulations committee members present? Okay, hearing no opposition. I hate that this kind of means we're starting over with the regs, but I promise you there are not as many details to this, but I think we finished 2.0 today. And so at our next meeting, I will have actual revisions in an actual document for you to review. Okay? Are there any other comments, Gail, Greg, Paul? Anybody else with their thinking cap on? Okay. I think, yeah, I think everybody will come back with more suggestions. And when you really have a document in front of you that you can, something tangible that you can look at. So I'll work on that for our next meeting, and I'm adjourning the regulations meeting at 12:34. And David, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I'm starting the continuing ed meeting, 12:35. There's no, old business. Yes, a table of all the Mass DEP courses since 2014 was provided to us.
Right.
And can I make a comment on that?
Can we get, hold on.
Yeah.
David, could you just get the number, the folks present, a list of folks present?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Well, who's on from the public, Chris?
Let's see, there are 6 members on from the public. Christy Lefebvre, Michelle Zelch, Nancy Fitzpatrick, Ron Myrick, and Wendy Rundle.
Thank you. And for the roll call, I have Deb, Gail, Greg, Patrick, Paul, Craig, David, and Kirk.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's also Kimberly Longridge is also on from the public.
Okay, so I'm sorry, because we're going to keep one list and I'm going to use it and David and everybody else is going to use it. So it's Deb, Gail, Patrick, Kurt, Craig, forgive me, Paul, David, of course,
Greg. And Greg.
I'm sorry, Greg.
There should be 8.
And Matt and Taja. Okay. Yep.
So under new business, we have a course reapproval request for the
David,
NOMOA.
can you back up? I had a comment on that list of courses.
The old business.
About the total number. It needs to be revised to reflect the fact that some of them are with the A's and the B's or whatever. Those can't be counted as like additional credits. It's only the credit. You only can count the credit for the original course.
Right. Okay. Well, let me give a little rundown on this and why it's on the agenda. There are a number of LSPs, and I'm so glad Nancy could join us. Fitzpatrick from BWSC could join us today because there have been a number of comments, and I'm sure the LSPA has received exactly the same thing. In fact, I know they have. But Lori compiled the list through 2018, and Matt added the courses from 2018 on. And this is just because this issue comes up all the time. There aren't enough Mass DEP courses. I haven't been able to earn Mass DEP courses. And I thought that in light of those comments, that the board should be able to see exactly what's been offered over the past almost decade in terms of DEP courses. I get what you're saying, Gail, that the courses can't be repeated, but this is just for general knowledge for the board. So there have been a total of 96 credits unless we've missed something over the
But
past
Beverly, that was what
decade.
I was saying. There haven't been 96 credits because of the duplicate course, the numbers that you can't retake. So it isn't a total, it's like 89 or so. I forgot what the number is. I added it up, but you
Okay.
have to, you have to subtract out the ones that are basically the same course. It's just given a different time or a change in instructor or whatever. So it isn't
some
96.
variation.
It's somewhat less than 96.
A variation on a thing, but I did count up the courses, and there are 46 of them. So from 2014 to May of 2023, there have been 46 course offerings, and so I get your point, Gail, that the total math credits is off because they can't retake.
Yeah, sorry, Beverly, but does your 46 count the duplicates as well? I think it's somewhat less. In other words, it's the original course that counts it when you can say it's a course and it's this many credits. When you do that, it can only count once. So I think it just has to be recounted, taking that into consideration.
Okay, well, we can do that. I don't think we need to reprint the course. I wanted you to see what's been offered, but your point is duly noted. It's duly noted because LSPs obviously cannot take a course or a variation of a course within the same renewal period. So that was just there, just for the board's edification. I thought you might like to see it. That was it. All set, David. Unless there are any other comments.
No, thank you for the list. That's great to have. So for course reapproval request, the NMOA seminar course has a change in instructor, which is fine with me. Do we need to vote on it?
It's a substantive change, so yes, you do.
So I make a motion to approve the change in the course instructor.
Second.
Any discussion from the public or the board? A yes is approving. Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
I'm a yes. And Kirk?
Yes.
Great. That's it for new business, and the next meeting will be determined when we do the scheduled meetings for the coming year. That ends the continuing.
David, should this course have an A after it or not? I mean,
no.
It's one of many instructors being changed.
Right. So it can stay as 1818. Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
So that ends the continuing ed meeting at 12:42.
Yep. And Kurt, you're Jamie's not with us, so if you could just give me a minute, my laptop went to sleep, and I'll be right with you for the professional conduct meeting. Okay, I'm all set.
The professional conduct starting at 12:44. Virtual draft minutes. Any questions or comments? None. Any old business? If not, I'll hand over the status of the CIPs to Beverly.
Okay, so I just wanted to, and Gail has some comments about the table as well. I'm sorry that I got it to you so late, but this is the second one, and so we are trying to get back on track. We've had limited time to devote to professional conduct matters because of the Acela launch, but Matt has been able to put forth some effort into this, And so I wanted to start with 05C, and I wanted to note that 05C, 07 will be further discussed in the executive session today, but I forwarded the LSP's notice of appeal. The LSP has filed a stay in both Superior Court and in the Appeals Court. And so there's kind of there are two things going on at once. There are stays applied for in both courts. And so what has happened is that the Appeals Court, and I sent out this notice to board members, I believe last week or this week, sorry, I'm losing track, that says that the Appeals Court denied the stay without prejudice, which means it can be brought again. But the Appeals Court also said that because there's a stay of the discipline pending in the Superior Court, until the Superior Court rules that on the motion before it, then the Appeals Court doesn't get to look at it, although they've already looked at it and denied it. I think it's less complicated than it looks. So what that means is that things are discipline is stayed until we hear from the Superior Court. Any questions about 05C? Okay, thank you. I do not have a report on 08C or 12C. I will have one for August for those two cases. The next case is 18. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I'm just checking my notes. Hold
okay,
on.
which you have comments about 18C, right?
No, I had yes, and 20. Yes, I had comments about 12C though. I think
Okay.
Greg, I believe that Greg is the other LSP, is the LSP on that CRT.
Uh-huh.
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm going to thank you for that. And please speak up. So 18C is Greg. I need to add Greg's name as well as yours, Gail. Okay.
No, mine is on there. It was only Greg's that needed to be.
I'm sorry. 12. We're talking about 12C.
Yeah.
I got that confused with the other case with Greg. Okay. 12C. I'll add Greg, of course. And I'm moving down to 18C01.
Yep.
And comments, Gail?
Yeah, that's where I had comments, if you want to get them. There was an interview. I couldn't find easily the interview date, but there was an interview, and there's a draft version of the CRT report that's been prepared. I couldn't get the date it was prepared, but I do know that it was sometime prior to 11/1/19 because I have a record of an email that transmitted it.
Okay, I'll find it.
And I wasn't noted on that. I mean, I'm missing on that one.
On 18C.
Yes.
Okay.
And that brings the total for me to 3 instead of 2.
Okay. Well, we need to.
Well, technically, it's only 2 CRTs because one of them's a screening team. So I don't know how you want to count them, but.
Okay, we'll sort it out. For August, I'll have a much better draft of this document and more complete reports. Okay, so I'll make those corrections on 18C01, 18C02. That's Deb, and I need to add you, Greg. Are you on there? Yes, you're already on there. Okay, very good. All right, in that case, I just need to finalize the CRT report. I'm looking at a final date there of presenting it to the board at the September 2023 meeting. We do have a draft. We interviewed the LSP. almost 2 years ago, unfortunately, but September 2023, we're going to present our CRT report to the board. Moving down to, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong page here. Okay, moving down to the next case, which would be 20C01 and 20C02. If you'll recall, those cases 6 and 7 operate out of the same situational facts. Gail, were you involved in either of those two?
No, you never assigned. The thing is, you were going to do the preliminary investigation because of the situation.
Right.
And I still think, though, that still has to be presented to the board, because right now it's only you. You need to assign people to actually review the case. I mean, in other words, you can't just present a CRT report. We need a CRT.
Right. And we need, I agree with that. So 20C01 and 20C02, I will have because I've, again, these are two cases that I investigated based on an internal complaint. I have interviewed all the witnesses. And I have report presented to the board at the August 2023 meeting. And I think that meets the standard that Gail was espousing, that the board needs to see it. So what you'll get from me is a memorandum with redactions.
Call it a screening team. Why don't you call it a screening team report? Because that's what you did. You effectively acted as a screening team.
Okay, other comments? I agree, Gail, but I just want to make sure that all the board members are heard. Any other comments? Okay. 20C01 and 20C02, I will change that to screening team, and I will present those memoranda at the 8/23 meeting. I'm banking a lot on this programming month. Okay.
Actually, Beverly, there's a lot. I think there's people on the board who never saw the redacted complaint or whatever came in to us. So it might be necessary to provide.
So you want that? You want a redacted attachment? I should attach that to my memo?
Yes, I think so, because I'm pretty sure it was before people were on the board.
Yes, it was. 3 members in particular were not members of the board at the time. Okay, so I will attach a redacted complaint when I present my memo. Okay, done.
And responses, did we have any responses, or was it just you investigating at that point?
Nope. I interviewed both of the LSPs involved. I have notes from, what I did was speak to all the collaterals, including the LSPs. And as I recall, I have written statements from the LSPs. So I will attach everything, just like a screening team report should. I'll attach everything.
Yeah.
Redacted.
Yes, of course.
And it won't be that much because they were brief. But both LSPs were interviewed and both provided written statements. So I've made note. 20C04, I don't have a report. As you can see, it's blank there. I will make sure that that's filled in for our August meeting. 21C01. Matt has completed redaction, and I have reviewed his redaction. So 21C01 can be presented to the board on the 23rd, and we can decide.
Wait, I'm already on that. Beverly, that's one that it's already a screening team. I did it. I received the materials unredacted. I've read it. So my name should be listed there as well.
Okay, hold on. Very good.
And I don't know if at the same time an LSP was given the materials. I just can't remember. I just know I got them unredacted, so I know who it is.
Yes, of course. Okay, so there was a screening team, and you have the redacted. I'll find it because
Yeah.
obviously I sent it, so I'll
Right.
find out who the other member, or if that member. And do you think it was Farouk Sadiq?
Well, what's the date? 21.
I remember I remember removing Farouk's name. So from one of the cases, I'm not sure. I'll have to look back and see.
You took his name from the one that was 21C, or not 20. Yeah, it was it. No, 12C. You removed him from 12C, and Greg got that one. So it's possible that you removed him from this one as well.
Okay. All right. I'll look back. I'll look back, but we may have to add another member who is an LSP, and
right.
Gail should be listed. Okay, got it. And with respect to any other comments, I'm sorry, about 21C? Okay, 22C, Matt is completing redaction of 22C. 22C is not pretty, it's a very voluminous complaint. And so we're going to get through that and we'll have it for the board meeting. I don't know, it will be redacted and ready to be presented to the board. I don't know if we're planning a lot for the August board meeting is my point. But I wanted you to know that Matt is completing redaction of the complaint and LSP response, and it'll be ready to be presented to the board at the August meeting. Whether or not we'll actually have enough time is another matter. Maybe the August meeting will be a long one. But any questions about 22C01?
Don't you just have to send it out in the packet, the redacted version out in the packet, and we just have to have the discussion of whether to just take it as a complaint? So it might not take that long to deal with. We might all agree that, oh my God, yes, this is easy, or then we're not.
Sorry, yes, it'll be just as normal because it's redacted. I have promised the complainants who have been waiting patiently for their copies, and so yes, it will be part of the August electronic packet, and hopefully we'll be back on track in terms of sending out the packet and getting things to you in a more timely fashion so that you'll have time to review it. But yes, the redacted documents will all be part of the packet, and that includes 20C01 and 20C02. Any other comments or questions about any of this? All right, I'm going to turn the meeting back over to co-chairperson Kurt Franklin.
Thank you, Beverly. No new business.
No.
So this meeting is adjourned at 1 o'clock.
Okay. If we are ready, I am going to dive right into the board meeting. In Millie's absence, I'll be calling the board meeting to order at, I have 12:58. Kurt, you have it 1 o'clock?
I have 12:58 too, Beverly.
Okay. I'm just going by my computer. Okay. All right. So I want to get a fresh count of who is with us. And as for board members, it's Deb, Gail, Patrick, and thanks for joining early, Patrick, Kurt, Greg, Paul, David, Greg, staff, Matt Line, and Natasha Dix. And members of the public, why don't you give me those names, please, Chris?
We have Kimberly Longridge, Christy Lefebvre, Michelle Zelch, Nancy Fitzpatrick, Ron Myrick, and Wendy Rundle.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. All right, calling the meeting to order at 1 p.m. Are there any announcements? Moving to agenda, hearing none, moving to agenda item number 3, additions or deletions or changes to the draft agenda. I have one. I want to start with apologizing for the typos. I know you guys know me. Typos are not my thing. I believe I mistakenly sent out the wrong draft. So there are some typos and formatting issues, specifically items 14A and B. And so I apologize for those. I do also want to add the July 2023 renewal report to the board meeting agenda. Okay, so any others? Additions, deletions, or changes to the draft agenda? All right. It's adopted. The board meeting agenda for June 13th, 2023 is adopted as amended. The virtual meetings are from June 2020 to May 2023, posted on the website. The next agenda item, decisions on licensing of applicants, and we'll tackle 5A first and vote on the renewal dockets. There is a renewal docket number 1. There is one LSP on renewal docket 1 who has completed all of the requirements for his January 2023 renewal with a new renewal date of January 30th. We must vote by roll call vote. And so with respect to docket number 1, Deb?
Yes.
Thank you. Gail?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
David? Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I got it. Greg?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Docket number 1 is approved. Docket number 2 is a list of LSPs who have April 30th, 2023 renewal dates. Their new expiration date is April 30th, 2026. There are 3 LSPs on that docket. Any recusals? All right. Voting on docket number 2, David?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Paul.
Yeah, I better recuse on this one, actually. I'll take a recusal.
All right. Thank you. Greg,
Yes.
thank you. By majority vote of those who are not recused, docket number 2 is approved. Docket number 3 is former board member who has renewed his July 30th, 2023 license very early. He's going to be out of the country, he's indicated. So Christoph got everything in. His new renewal date is July 30th, 2026. Are there any recusals? Hearing none. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Thank you. And finally, we have docket number 4. This LSP has requested a 90-day extension. His renewal date is July 30th, 2023. His new expiration date, if you approve the 90-day extension, would be October 30th, 2023. Are there any recusals? Hearing none, I'll take the vote by roll call. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
and Greg.
Yes.
Thank you. And with that, docket number 4 is approved as well. All right, moving to the next item on the agenda. Sorry, folks, I lost my agenda. Okay. Pardon me. Okay, licensing, we are at now 5B. I just wanted to indicate that there was a little hiccup with some of one applicant's references, but ARP 331 and ARP 332 now have all the documents that they need. They are reviewing them or have reviewed them. Again, I've just been so busy with the Acela portal that I haven't had time to schedule the application reviews, panel meetings, but that will be done during July, or at any rate before the August board meeting, and that'll have more meaning as I talk about agenda item number 16C, the online launch. There are currently 446 active LSPs. There are no LSPs on inactive status. The January 2023 renewal report, there are a few LSPs who have not paid their renewal fee. I'm presuming that they're not going to renew, but they still have 1 year to come back into the fold. And as you can see, we actually had an LSP obtain the necessary credits and get everything done. So they're still coming in. The annual fees, I need to meet with revenue to get that list of LSPs because we need to send out those notices. I have some of the licensing issues have been delayed, and they're because of the launch of Acela. I'm hoping that some of these notices with respect to annual fees and so forth will be able to get out through the new Acela portal, but that remains to be seen as to whether or not we can backdate things. I'm not sure about that. The same goes for the April renewal report. There are some LSPs who have not paid their fees. They still have 1 year to come back into the fold. And as you can see today, we had a docket of 3 LSPs who fulfill their requirements. That was a relatively small group of renewals. So I'll have better numbers at the next meeting on exactly how many folks have not fulfilled their requirements. I'm moving on unless there is further discussion to the July renewals that I'm adding in. That's item number 10. The July 2023 renewals have been delayed. As you know, I haven't had staff to get some of these programming things done. However, I thought with respect to the July renewals, because we are launching Acela this month, June 2023, that we would not have to send out invoices and so forth for the July renewal. I was mistaken.
Hi, Beverly. I have a
Yes.
question from the attendees.
Member of the public. Sure.
Yes. Kimberly Longridge asked, good afternoon. I am present today as I thought that my license renewal would be in the docket. My expiration date was 4/30/23. My renewal package was sent in late March 2023. I provided proof of canceled check.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, Ms. Longridge, I'll address you directly. I'm sorry that you were not included on today's docket. I will get to the bottom of it, but I will make sure that you have EDEP access and that your information is corrected on the website. And I apologize. So your license will not be affected. I'll make sure that that all happens today. Did she, Chris, did Ms. Longridge include her license number? If she didn't, I'll look it up.
She did not. Yeah, if you just look it up,
Okay.
I'll make sure. I'll go into EDP and make sure she's all set today. That won't be a
Yep.
problem.
We will. Yep, we'll do that today. I apologize, Ms. Longridge. I'm just taking some quick notes, and we'll make that happen today. And we'll also find your paperwork. Thank you. Okay, any other comments? All right, so the July renewal, renewal invoices are being printed. They're going out late. So what people have done, like Christoph Henry and others who have emailed me, I've told them because they are the last of the paper generation. This is absolutely the last paper renewal that will be filed with the board. So we've hit that milestone, and I've asked people to mail their documents and checks directly to the LSP board, 100 Cambridge Street, 9th floor, Boston, Mass. 02114, and we will process the checks and get them to revenue, and we'll process their applications. And we're also taking drop-offs. So if someone wants to drop off their renewal, instead of waiting for the invoices, because that's a process and it's already out of my hands. So we will take walk-ins, we'll take mail directly to the board, we'll make sure your checks get wherever they have to go so that you will not be penalized. And I wanted to make that announcement about the July renewals. Are there any comments or questions about that? Again, I thought that the July renewal would be, since we're launching Acela, I thought that the July renewals would be included. I was told that they're not. The first class of renewals that will be totally online will be the October 30th, 2023 renewals. And I'll talk specifically about how that's all going to take place when we get to agenda item 17, renumbered 17. Okay, item 11 on the amended agenda is a discussion of LSP credits that was tabled at the May 8th meeting. Are there any comments on that LSP submission?
This is the
Okay.
situation with the rollover credits.
Yes. Yes. And I don't think I've spoken to him. It's Mr. Gibbons. And Mr. Gibbons sent a detailed email about what he had taken and all of that. And the board hadn't had sufficient time to review it. But I'm looking for guidance here from the board regarding Mr. Gibbons' petition.
Beverly, I did have one question. He mentions that the waiver was not accepted, but his LSP license was extended during the waiver to April 26th. Does that mean that he could actually take courses in that time range when his license was extended and apply it to the previous renewal period?
I think that's what he's asking. I mean, I think that what he's saying is that his license lapsed. He didn't have enough credit because he was waiting to earn Mass DEP credits. His license lapsed, and he took additional technical credits and regulatory credits during that lapsed period. And what he wants to do is carry over the credits, the additional credits that he obtained over and above his 48 into the next renewal period.
And Beverly, just to add to that, this is Paul here, but I think the last meeting, the information that came to light was his renewal period is gonna change, right? His licensing period, so that those credits were obtained outside of the window that his new license covers, right? If that makes sense.
Kind of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't, because I have to check. His license lapsed. He was okay, let me give the background here. Mr. Gibbons was a January 30th, 2022 renewal. His license lapsed when he failed to earn enough credits. His license lapsed on January 30th, 2022. He needed additional credit. He was reinstated. That means I'm saying he obtained the necessary credit in as of October 11th, 2022. And what he's asking is, can those courses that he took during that lapse period, which he set out below, be added to his 10 30, 2025 renewal. So, I mean, it's our credits in a general way, our credits taken when, our conditional ed credits taken when your license is lapsed, are you able to carry those over into another renewal period?
I think you might have to in case, in this particular case, it seems reasonable because he normally, had he been able to apply for one of the, like the 90-day extension to get the DEP credits, he could have been taking classes towards his next extension. I think what screwed him up is just that the renewal date changed. In this case, this is sort of, to me, an unusual case. We wouldn't want to make a precedent of being able to sort of, let things go over, but this is kind of unusual to me. It was after his last renewal date that he took the credits, right? And,
Yes.
and sometimes you have to catch up, and the only way you can catch up, if your license has lapsed, you'd still have to take those courses while your license was lapsed to be able to catch up. That it just seems fair to me in this type of instance where it would be okay. Not normally, but it's after his renewal period to me.
But Beverly, what's his new renewal period? Wasn't he issued the license was somewhere around the October 11th, 2022 period, or is it retroactive back to his original January date?
He obtained the credits he needed on October 11th, 2022. Now I need to check because I don't see why his renewal date would be changed from January 30th. Because even if you come back in, and I'm looking at 3.06, even if you come back into the fold within 1 year, under 3.061, your renewal date stays the same. The month, the renewal month.
That's actually what I thought would be the case, Beverly. I actually thought it should go back to his original date, and then this wouldn't be an issue, right?
Right.
Maybe that's the issue that can be fixed. His renewal date is just the same month, but the right year away.
So the initial renewal date was January 30th. We know that, and I'm at 306 subpart 1. And as of June, I just don't see how, because your renewal date doesn't change the month.
Right. I think that's correct. Yeah.
Go ahead, Gail.
No, I think that's the way I think it should be, is that because it's lapsed. I mean, just because it's lapsed doesn't mean it's like, okay, but as soon as he picks up the credits he needs, then it would go back to what it should be.
That's right.
And if he's obtaining credits in that period, right, that seems to be fair, that he needs the same amount, generally the same amount of time to be fulfilling his credit obligations. So, if you didn't allow it, it would be compressing the time period that he has in order to get the credits.
I agree. So what you're saying is that even though his license was lapsed, looking at the next renewal period, he still had to start earning credits toward that 2025 renewal date. Is that right?
That's what I thought.
Okay, so those credits. Okay, so let me clarify, and please correct me if I'm mischaracterizing Paul and Gail the way you see this, so that the whole board can, because we have to vote, have a clear motion and second from the floor. Mr. Gibbons' renewal date was January 30th, 2022. His license lapsed because he did not have sufficient credit. he obtained, and I think there was specifically DEP credits. He obtained the credits he needed to come back within the fold in September of 2022. So almost 10 months later, 9 months later or so, he obtained the credit. But in the meantime, between January 30th and October of 2022, he was earning technical credits. He was earning regulatory credits that he's listed there. And so again, his question is, can he carry those over into 2025? If that's clear enough for everyone, can we have a motion from the floor?
Hey, Beverly, this is Craig. I have one question. The one thing he does reference is that when he put the waiver in, he said his extended license expiration date was actually in April. Is that correct?
Okay. So I'll have to, he says that the board denied his waiver and extended it. Oh, you know what? That extension that he lists there is 4/26/2022. I gave him because when matters are pending before the board with respect to LSP's licenses, I allow them to remain active until you guys vote and tell me what to do. So
okay.
that extension that he cites there from to 4/26, that was me giving him an extension to get his petition before the board and resolve matters. And I believe that's what that is.
Okay.
So Beverly, his next licensing window is the same though, from January 2022 to January 2025.
Yes.
And the credits he's asking to pull forward falls within that window.
Yeah.
Yes, that's on the table on the back. He's listed the courses on page 2, or maybe at the bottom of your page.
So does that mean his, like on the website right now, it listed as October 2025?
Yeah, I don't know why.
So is that,
why I'd have to.
is that going to be?
I don't.
Okay.
But you can fix that,
why.
right, Beverly? I mean,
yes,
you can just go in and fix that back to what.
Yeah, we can fix that today. But I need to go in. Does it make a difference to the board whether or not his expiration date is January 30th, 2025 or October 30th, 2025? Does that make a difference?
It does to me. It seems, because then it does change. I mean, I think that we should stick to whatever we've been doing in the past, which I believe. I mean, he shouldn't be different than everybody else in the way we handle.
All right. So
You
in
don't
order,
get, you don't get a, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry, it was Greg. Sorry to interrupt. I didn't. It's that if it was extended, if the date begins in October 22 to 25, going to 25, he's getting a bonus period of licensure. That and so I agree with the analysis that you discussed before, which is that he reverts to the January 25.
Okay,
and
so
I agree. So I agree that if he began this period in October 22, then we should not be allowing those credits. However, if it is actually starting in January 22, then we should allow those credits. It's my opinion.
Okay. All right, because we have a window here until 2025, I'm going to, with the board's agreement, we'll take a roll call vote in a minute. Actually, I think we should have a motion from the floor about tabling this until I can resolve the actual expiration date issue. I have a motion.
I move that we table it until Beverly resolves the expiration date issue.
Second.
Thank you, Gil. And that was Craig seconding?
Yep.
Give me a second. Thank you, Craig. All right. I'll get that information and have that for the board meeting, and I'll notify the LSP that it's been further tabled. Thank you very much. All right, the next item 12 on the amended agenda is the petition for waiver, license number 1509. You have that information, and I am ready to hear your comments.
So the petition for waiver is just the email, and the reason is that there haven't been enough DEP credits. Nothing else?
That's, I am presenting everything that the LSP gave me. I had conversations with the LSP at 8 yesterday morning. He had an invitation to attend the board meeting. And I don't know, Chris, has Mr. Goldman appeared on the list of attendees? Hello?
Sorry, I was muted. No.
Okay. Were you talking while you were muted?
Yes, I had a great conversation with myself.
Okay, Chris. Okay.
We've never
Mr.
approved
Goldman.
these waivers.
Yeah, is Mr. Goldman on the?
We've never approved these waivers without substantial hardship, and there's nothing in the email.
Yep. Hey, one
David,
comment.
so there's no substantial hardship. And now, Paul, you have a comment.
This is Craig. Yeah, one question I had was the website shows him expiring October 2023, not July. So he still has time plus a 90-day if he wanted it.
Yes, he does. Craig, I advised him of all those options. And I told him about the 90-day. I included a little bit of the back and forth just so the board would know, but he was invited to attend the meeting so that he could speak on his own behalf. Again, I emailed him and I spoke with him yesterday morning. So I don't know, other than what he's presented here. What you have here is exactly what he sent me. He confirmed that this is what he wanted you to see.
Make a motion to deny the waiver.
Second.
Hold on. David moved to deny, and Mr. McBride, was it? Who seconded?
Correct. Yes.
Thank you. All right. It was a second. All right. Thank you. I'll notify the LSP.
No, we have to vote, Beverly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me.
And discuss more discussion if need be, and then the vote.
Yep. Because we have a motion on the floor. The motion has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'm going to ask for the roll call vote. And that is Deb?
Yes.
I'm sorry, the motion pending on the floor is to deny the LSP's petition for waiver, and the grounds cited by Mr. Austin, no substantial hardship shown. And Mr. Austin, was there another comment? We've never allowed them before. Was that it?
Just for the simple reason of not having DEP credits, and also what Craig mentioned about his actual renewal date and other options.
Other options. Okay. Thank you. We always want the grounds. All right. I'm sorry to interrupt. Continuing with the roll call vote, Deb was a yes. Based on the motion, the second, and discussion by Mr. Austin and grounds. Gail?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 13 on the agenda, amended agenda. That's the exam committee report. I am going to be able to devote some time starting in July for reconstituting the exam committee. I know it's been a while. I just haven't had the time to schedule a meeting. I'm hoping that people's vacation schedules will permit us to have a meeting so we can sort out where we are and then get started again. I know one very important member of the committee may have some very important parental duties during the month of July, but we'll see. Chris, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. Yes. I'm gonna be touring the world.
Yeah, I know you are. Okay. Inside joke, folks. Chris is first and only is going off to BU this fall. So, and you know, Chris rules the world when it comes to our IT issues. So everything will revolve around him and John Fitzgerald. So we'll hopefully get a meeting going for July for the exam committee. All right, I want to talk about, I'm sorry, is there any discussion about item number 13? All right. Amended agenda item number 14 is the 2023 LSP exam. This is going to be monumental. The first exam registration online will be held this year. I need to set a location for the exam, but all registration, all payment of fees will be done online. I'm planning to offer the exam. The likely date is September 2023 or October 2023. Again, it's more than just my schedule. It's getting everyone else's schedule coordinated, our IT folks, and the location is key. There was a hiccup with respect to the software, and it wasn't paid. The bill wasn't paid. You may recall I spoke about this at the March 8th meeting. That has since been taken care of, so Chris will be able to update our exam software. Again, folks will register online. There are in queue 7 eligible folks who are qualified to sit for the exam. There is one potential petition for waiver that applicants' eligibility expires during the month of July. I don't know whether or not he or she is going to file a petition for waiver, but in any event, if that person does file a timely petition for waiver, the exam won't be until September or October. So if the board will have a chance to rule on the petition, and if that person chooses to can sit for the exam, if his or her petition is allowed. There are 2 applications pending. I don't know whether or not those applicants will be approved to sit for the exam. If they are, and we will know that by the August meeting, because I will have scheduled the ARP 331 and 332 before then, there will be a total of 9 eligible. And if the petition is for waiver is filed, there'll be 10 eligible to sit for the 10 eligible to sit for the exam. Any questions about the exam report? Okay. We are now up to item 15 on the amended agenda, and I'm going to turn that portion of the meeting over to Mr.
Don't we have to
Austin
vote
for,
on the, sorry, didn't we vote on something in the Education Committee?
yeah, I'm getting to that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said 15. I'm sorry, it changed. Never mind, that's my fault. I forgot the numbering changed.
Yeah, it changed. So we're on 15A, Gail. So
So the
let's turn
continuing
that-
ed
Go ahead.
committee met.
Go
We
ahead,
met
David.
today. Yeah, we met today and we approved a change in a course instructor. And we discussed the list of Mass DEP courses, which is great to have, and there'll be a future meeting to be determined.
Okay. As for a roll call vote on the continuing education committee recommendations for today, can I have a motion from the floor to accept the committee's recommendation?
I move that we accept the recommendations of the Continuing Ed Committee.
And may I have a second for the committee report of today?
Second.
Was that you, Deb?
Yes, it was. Thanks.
Thank you, Gail. All right, there's motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, we can take the roll call vote on the continuing ed committee's recommendations of 6/13/23. Deb,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
thank you, Craig,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
and Greg.
Yes.
Thank you. Continuing ed committee recommendations are approved. The professional conduct committee report, I'm turning that report over to Mr. Franklin.
Okay. In summary, 05C07, there was a notice of appeal. It's in two courts, appeals and Superior, denied in appeals, so won't be put through until Superior makes a decision, one way or the other.
I can do the rest. Kurt, do you want me to do the remainder?
Sure, if you like.
Okay, I can just give a brief report. We updated the active cases table. We're adding names of folks to the cases. So 12C01, Mr. McBride will be added as the LSP on that case. In 18C01, I will add Dr. Batchelder to that case. I need to do some research and look for the draft CRT report from 2019. We will have screening team memoranda for 20C01 and 20C02 arising out of the same set of operative facts. I will attach the redacted complaint and other information to my memoranda so that it can be presented to the board at the 8/23 meeting. 20C04, I did not have a report on today. I'll have a report for that case at the August meeting. 21C01 has been redacted. And I need to add Gail to the screening team, and look for the other member who may or may have not been former board member Farouk Sadiq, because we need to add an LSP. That will be presented in redacted form at the August board meeting. 21C01, 22C01 will go through the same process. Matt Line is in the process of redacting the complaint and LSP response. We will present those documents to the board for further review at the August 2023 meeting. That was all I had.
I had a question on 21C01. Gail, when you read that, did you say you read the redacted or the non-redacted?
I've read no, as a screening team, I read the non-redacted
The whole
version.
thing. Yeah. Yep. Screening team reads everything. They know all. But at the August meeting,
if it's a CRT, then probably the screening team needs to be on it, because then too many people would know the information. So.
And you know, Gail, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the past pattern that people who are, and Kurt, you will agree with this, I'm sure, that if you're on the screening team, more likely than not, absent some kind of issue, you're going to be on the CRT, because as Gail said, that's 2 board members recused already, because they would have to be recused if they were on the screening team from voting on any issues moving forward. And that would just leave too few people, I think, left to make votes and discuss and have consideration. Because if you've been on the screening team and you're not on the CRT, you can't vote.
And we had a situation once. We did have that
CRT
situation once where we didn't have people.
Yeah, because that would, if you pick different people, that's like what, 4 people.
It would be a total of 4 people not voting on the discipline.
Right. That's right. On anything.
Well, on anything related to that CRT, that's correct. And
that's
it
right.
did happen once, because the LSP somehow managed to get himself into a conflict, got rid of the person on the CRT, had to put a new person in, and the LSP found the conflict with that person that precluded him from serving on the CRT, and we were down to very few members able to vote. And in fact, it didn't constitute enough. It was a real problem. It turned out to be a real problem.
I think that LSP called board members or something, contacted
No, that's a different one, Beverly. This was before your time when this one happened. This is very old. Okay. This is very old when this particular situation happened.
Okay, very old. All right. Well, we know better now. So when you know better,
we try not to let that happen again.
Right. So that concludes my portion of the report, and I'll turn the meeting back over to Mr. Franklin.
That pretty much ends it.
Okay. Were there any issues that that required a board vote at the Professional Conduct Committee meeting today?
No.
All right, then. Any discussion on the Professional Conduct Committee report? All right, moving on to amended agenda item number 17, other business. I'll give the proposed regulation amendments report. Today we worked on section 2.0. In particular, we focused on the notice requirements with respect to the upcoming Acela portal launch. We made some notations. I'm going to take some direction from the comments that I got from Gail and other board members and have them ready for the regulations meeting in August. And I'll also move beyond 2.0 and see if some of the language that was suggested by Gail and by Paul, board members, Dr. Batchelder and Mr. McKinley, can be used as a template and put into the various places through section 1.0 through 9.0, forgive me, and kind of used. And I'll also take a look and see what the judicial system is doing to see if there's anything that we can convert for our own use based on what the judicial system is doing with respect to filing documents. Not that we have to do it, but that we can. So I will look at that. Are there any comments, questions, or other discussions about item 17A? Okay, thank you. Moving on to personnel, budget, and fees. I am going to start the hunt for a general counsel. We'll see how far that goes, but I have gotten clearance to hire a general counsel, so it would be really great to have one since we haven't had legal counsel since 2014. Almost a decade. All right, any comments or questions about other business item 17B? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move to what is my favorite topic today, my favorite agenda item today, the online portal. We are in the final stages of going online, virtual for everything LSP. The launch date is June 29th, 2023. And as I indicated at the last meeting that I was going to be tied up, almost half of the week for Matt and me has been spent in the testing applications for the online portal. And so we were testing application apps, exam apps, renewal apps, and everything that the LSPs are going to be doing online. So the last phase of this is the language, and that's over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be working with IT on the online instructions because they're critical. They need to be updated. In the next 2 weeks, we're moving forms, we're cleaning up language, we're deleting things. We're also working in production to make sure that all the links can go are live. So it's just the final testing and production phase that we're in over the next 2 weeks. I'm working with IT, EEA IT, to change the forms and things that are on the website, taking down some, adding instructions for others. So the LSP board website will be under construction. The public will still be able to access information about the LSPs, whether or not they're active, their license status, and all of that. But for the parts that I just mentioned, application, how to apply, how to register for the exam, how to renew your license. And again, October 2023 will be the first class of licensees for the Acela portal. The 2023 exam, those 9 or so folks will be the first class to register for the exam online. There are some other pieces other than the registration that we have to take care of. That's updating the software and finding a suitable location to offer the exam. Those pieces will be in place. And for an example, someone registering to sit for the exam will get a notice, an email saying, we've selected the date. Please select your order of preference. They'll select that. They'll indicate their preferences. They'll pay online. Again, you can pay with a card or using a check. There's, I think, a 35-cent fee for paying by check. Again, we'll still take hand deliveries, but we're trying to get away from the paper. And so all of this back and forth on the exam, for example, will be via email. They will get a ticket. Applicants will get a ticket number, an item number rather, for each thing that they do online, whether it's citing their preferences, whether it's paying their fee to sit for the exam. Everything is going to be online. Now, we know that there may be some hiccups. There may be some folks. We're working on making this really user-friendly. It will be well, it might be a little harder than using your Amazon, but you will be able to log in, set a password, and do whatever you need to do. It'll be what would you like to do? Apply for the exam, apply to sit for the exam, renew your license, pay your annual fee. And there will also be a feature that will allow folks, as with any other training, to stop and save what you have and then go back at a later time. All attendance certification forms will be downloaded onto your individual space within the portal by your ID number, your LSP license number. This Acela portal will assign LSP numbers. I mean, everything that we do manually, everything that LSPs do manually, except mailing the wall certificates. And I have to check on advisory rulings and whether or not we're going to be able to allow advisory rulings to be filed, a request for advisory rulings to be filed within the Acela portal. I don't see any reason why not, but the webmasters may tell me no. I don't know, but that's the only exception, wall certificates and advisory rulings. By mid-July, we will be ready to switch all 400 plus LSPs online. I now have an LSP listserv, or I will have when we launch this. So I'm preparing language to announce the launch of the Acela portal that will be sent to every LSP. I think those were all the notes I had. Is there any discussion? Are there any questions?
Yeah, Beverly, it's Paul McKinley here. Will LSPs be able to update their own profile? I know we talked about sort of payment issues and checks going to the wrong spot as LSPs. Are LSPs now with this new portal going to be able to update if they change companies or sell their house and move? Are they going to be able to update their own profiles?
Well, absolutely. Change of address, anything that an LSP needs to do, receive a wall certificate, he will or she will be able to do online. change your address, change your phone number. When you go in and log in with your specific PIN number, there'll be a drop down menu that will allow you to choose why you logged on in the first place. You can also, LSPs will also be able to load up their renewal as they take the courses and submit it and have it saved for later. I mean, this is going to be earth-shattering, not just for LSP board staff, but for all LSPs. This has been my dream. We've been working on this I've been working on this for 2 years, and it's finally going to happen. It's finally going to happen.
And so Beverly, are LSPs going to get like their PIN number sent to them? Because I know there's an LSP verification, in order for us to be able to stamp through EDP. Is there, I guess, to access this and have a password, or LSP is going to be prompted to establish an account?
You're going to set up your own account, your own password. You will be directed as to how many characters. It will be like setting up any other account with Amazon or any other entity that is password protected. This information will be password protected. I won't know your password. So if you get locked out, again, we're going to have an Acela help desk, and that will be in that information on the number to call, or actually, I don't think it's a number. I think it's a link will be provided to the help desk. There will be an LSP board Acela help desk to answer your questions if you get stuck, if it's frozen, if you can't upload a form, if you can't figure out how to do something. There will be help for you. And so, Paul, I hope that answers your question. Anything that you ever had to do to call the board, I've been telling LSPs, the July renewals in particular, this may be the first and last time we ever speak, because we're going to be replaced by an electronic staff person. I'm just going to name it like the fourth member of the team or something. Does that answer your question, Paul? I'm sorry.
It sure does. No, that sounds great. Look forward to it.
Oh, you're looking forward to it. Okay. Everybody is. Chris Borges, the entire Mass Department of Revenue, EEA, everybody's looking forward to this. But nobody more than me, because the bottom line is this is a way that we are going to serve our constituents and bring, we are actually, the LSP board is actually, I believe, the last agency to go online. I told you, or I may have mentioned, there are 50,000 lawyers in Massachusetts, and we all register online and have been registering online for almost 10 years. And if they can do it with our numbers under 500, I'm sure we can do it. But happy to answer any other questions or anything that you think I haven't covered. This is for all things LSP. If you just want to go in and change your phone number, you're going to go in, you're going to set your own password. If for Paul in particular, sorry to single you out, you already have an LSP number. That LSP number will stay the same. The only folks who will be assigned new 4-digit LSP license numbers are those who are applying. All applications will be filed online. The reference forms, if Beverly Roby is applying to sit for the LSP exam, for approval to sit for the exam, my references, it will still be blind. I'll file a list as Gail and Paul and Greg are my references with their emails. The email will give you, you'll get an error message if the email address isn't within a certain character form that's dictated, and you won't be able to proceed. You'll have to sort that stuff out, just like when you buy something online or do anything online. your reference, the references that I listed, Gail, Paul, and Greg, will get an email saying Beverly Roby has requested that you provide a reference. Here's the reference. Please download the reference form. The references will upload the reference form. They will be instructed. And this is kind of the tricky part, the things that we are, the devil is in the details. And these are the things that we are currently fine tuning, instructions that say to the reference, please do not forward this information to the LSP applicant, and so forth. And the references will come back to us. So there won't be any paper. For instance, we had a delay with respect to one of the current applicants and the reference form, part of the reference form being missing. That won't happen. Everything will be there. Any other questions about this agenda item? Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Moving on to amended item, agenda item 17D. I know that there are outstanding board member reappointment requests. And so in May, I contacted Governor Healy's office, the Secretary of Boards and Commissions. I know that there's one board member who is set to retire, and there are, again, pending reappointment requests. And I wanted to make sure that the governor's office was aware of that. Sometimes, during the transition, I sent it to the prior administration, and I mentioned that to the board when I did that, but sometimes things are lost in translation, so I wanted to make sure that current governor has all the information they need. I haven't heard anything yet. When I do, I will notify you all. Okay. Any questions about that agenda item? Okay. Moving on to agenda item 17. We're going to set the dates for the 2023-2024 LSP board meeting calendar. We use the month of July for programming. So I want to know, board members, whether or not you want to stick to the second Tuesday in the month. Is Wednesday better? I know people's schedules and responsibilities change. So the first thing we need to do is pick a date of the week.
I think we should keep with the second Tuesday of the month, like we did this last year.
Okay. We've done it for a couple of years, David. That's right. So the second Tuesday,
this is Greg. I agree with that proposal.
Okay. All right. Do you think we should have a motion on this and the board should vote, or? I mean, it's not required, but.
No.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to give off the dates, read off the dates rather. I will follow up with an email, and the new calendar will be posted on the website once we're done here. Okay, so the second Tuesday, and we also need to talk about the hybrid model because we talked about having some meetings in person. I do have to work out the virtual aspect because I think that as we heard from Lori McCarthy at the May meeting and others, having the virtual meeting allows people to participate. We reach a wider audience than if we have solely in-person meetings. So what I'd like to do, and I haven't worked this out yet, is do both to allow members of the public.
That is possible.
Go ahead, Chris.
That is possible. When BWC did, this is even pre-COVID, the monthly, the stakeholders meeting.
Yeah, I know that meeting.
Yep.
Yep.
Paul Lockwood broadcast the meetings live on via YouTube. And people were able to comment, ask questions virtually during the live meeting. So something like that is possible. It would be a wider IT involvement than just me, which is fine. I could, suck other people in and set up a meeting room with microphones, cameras, etc., and broadcast the actual meeting so that we could reach a wider audience.
Right. That's what I hoped. Chris. I know it would complicate things, but you and I. So the bottom line is Chris and I are going to make this happen. We're going to put together a team so that we will continue to allow wider public access to board meetings. So the first meeting would be August 8th. That is the second Tuesday of August 2023. The meetings would still start at 12 o'clock or whatever time that we decide and I thought that for the August meeting, we would gather together at 100 Cambridge Street, new offices of the board in Boston for our kickoff for this calendar year. Any other comments? Okay, so moving to September, the second September of the month. I'm sorry, the second September of the month. The second Tuesday of the month in September would be September 12th. Any discussion? September 12th.
Is that going to be is that a virtual, Beverly? Do you have any idea like how many you think are in person versus virtual?
No, I'm asking you guys. Yeah, I don't know how you please you decide how to do this. So if the first meeting in August will be in person and virtual. So every meeting will be virtual, but not every meeting will be in person. Our first meeting will be in person and virtual. That's on August 8th. On September 12th, is there discussion?
No, Beverly, this is Greg. It sounds like because we want to always have it available virtually, these meetings will need to be at a specific location. They're not going to move around to a different, say regional offices.
Okay.
No, that's a question. Is that true?
Oh, well, I think it would be harder for Chris to move us around. It could be done.
Confirming that's true.
Yeah, you raised a good point, Greg. I think it would be harder, and I think that if we do, it would be easier to do it at 100 Cambridge Street if we're doing in person, wouldn't it, Chris?
Yeah, because if you wanted to do something that was both, you'd have to set up in each individual location where microphones are, where cameras are, how people log in. If we always had it in one meeting spot, then it's much easier to set up for the virtual portion.
And I think that the equipment will be much easier to access. We won't have to check and the other part of it is one of the offices, Lakeville, is scheduled to move this year. So I want to kind of stay away from places where we know that, I just kind of agree with Greg that I think that if we're doing in person, for the convenience of everyone, with respect to because, pardon me, we're going to be adding additional IT people to the team through Chris. So the equipment that's necessary and the cameras and all of that, I think having the meetings in person at 100 Cambridge Street. So board members, I mean, do you want to do every meeting in person and virtual at 100 Cambridge Street? Do you want to do some meetings virtual, every other meeting in person? How would you like for this to work?
I just have two questions. So in-person meetings, which would also be virtual, are not an option necessarily for Worcester and Lakeville. And when it's a virtual and in-person, board members can be on virtually, not just the public, correct?
Well, no,
That's
no, you can't. No, you can't.
Why?
Because
Okay,
we
I
have,
don't-
They said we could.
I don't know if people realize that.
well, I have to check with the executive order, because the executive order that Governor Healy issued on March 31st, and I want to make sure we get this right. You know, we had to have a quorum in the room before for remote meetings.
Yes.
And so I don't know that board members, if that holds, David, to answer your question, if we don't have to have a quorum in the room based on Governor Healy's March 31st, 2023 order, then yes, you can call in. But I'm not going to say, because I haven't looked at it that closely. I'll have an answer at the August board meeting. But
So I think that's
go ahead.
I think that would really affect people's decision.
Yeah,
I
it-
think so
it would
too.
be-
From my understanding of the open meeting law, and I understand it may be trumped by the executive order, but the open meeting law, and including Governor Baker's emergency declaration, required that if it's in person, there be a quorum in person at the event, and others can dial in or tune in, but there has to be a quorum present at the live meeting.
Yeah, for
That's
board
great.
members,
Hold on, please, hold on. Gail, I'll give you the floor, and
Yeah,
after
yeah.
Gail, I didn't recognize the voice. So Gail, you have the floor.
Yeah, my recollection is that that's the way it was before the pandemic, that if there was a quorum in the room, you could have other members participate it was by phone, but back then, but you could have people participate by phone as long as there was a quorum in the room.
Correct. That's the open meeting law that dictated that.
Right.
Chris, you have a comment from someone.
yeah, I just for board members, it's going to be different than broadcasting a signal for members of the public to, ask questions or hear.
Yep.
It would be much more difficult, let's say, if a few board members are not in the room, for them to be able to fully participate like they would if they were in person. The interaction between any comments you needed to make, or whether you wanted to weigh in on an issue or something like that, would be extremely difficult to do remotely, as opposed to just viewing a presentation online, basically. Okay, so
But Chris, we
that's
used
where
to
it
be
would.
able to call in. So, I mean, if those board members could call in like the old
Right.
fashioned way.
The only issue with that is when you call in to the meeting, it's going to be much more difficult for me to broadcast your comments to the public. Because before, if you're sitting in a room and you call in and you're on a speakerphone, everyone in that room, including the public, other board members, can hear you. If I'm then broadcasting a meeting where you're calling in on, say, a speakerphone, I don't necessarily know how that would translate to me being able to broadcast your comments that were coming in on a speakerphone and then going out over whatever medium that we're projecting your comments to go out over. So what that would effectively do is limit whoever is remote, whatever board member is remotely logging in to, express your opinion or vote or do whatever, those things wouldn't necessarily get out to the public as easily, meaning the public that's viewing online. And again, if you're a member of the public and you're sitting in a meeting space, you can hear Gail, like say if you're making comments over a speakerphone, you can hear that, as opposed to someone who's viewing it over an online meeting. It might be much more difficult for us on the IT side to be able to broadcast that, if you get my meaning.
But do you know that they can't hear the speakerphone? Do you know that?
We've never done it before. What I'm saying is
That's
it's
what
going
I'm
to be
saying.
very
You don't know
difficult
that
to
it doesn't
figure
work
that out.
yet, is what I'm saying.
Right.
You
And
don't know yet that it doesn't work.
right. So what I'm saying is for like the August meeting, I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to be able to basically produce that kind of a meeting where a member of the board would be able to call in and then have their comments broadcast out into the general public. It's not going to happen, especially since people are going to be gone during July and August, and this is a big technical issue. Is all I want to. Even just the fact of broadcasting a live meeting online so that the members of the public are going to be able to view it, that's a big production. I was involved in that production when we did, when Paul Locke would broadcast the meetings. It's hours of preparation just before the meeting, just to set up the meeting room, and that is just, all the members of the board are there live, and all the members speaking are live. We're just broadcasting the results. So I'm just saying it's a big step, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not saying it won't be done. I'm just saying realize that it's not a small endeavor.
Is that just because of the platform that we use? I'm just curious.
It's because of any platform. Like, we would have to figure out the integration part of it. Like, if I had a production studio, like where like a radio show or a TV show, and I have, mixers available and, different ways to broadcast out. I'm hosting a radio show where you call in and I'm broadcasting out. Then it's not, it's a much smaller deal. We're talking about me trying to cobble together a production scenario, given desktop computers, individual microphones that I hang all over the room, video cameras that I can situate in different areas that are then going to different. It's, you know what I mean? Saying it's even setting up for those meetings that we did was very difficult, and it encompassed a lot of different IT and audiovisual equipment. And again, if that definitely can't translate to different regional offices, because think of way back when in high school, you had the AV cart come in that had the VCR and the TV.
Right.
Setting aside board members, are you going to be able to do the virtual element for the general public?
Yes, it's done. We've done it before.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
But then I suggest we just start with the August meeting and maybe decide after that, depending on how things go. I mean, I'm all for all in person 100% of the time, but I know other people on the board are looking for 50% or only 2 meetings in person. And maybe at this point, we just start with August and then decide on the format and locations thereafter.
Yeah, that's a good starting point, David, I think. But and we've had this conversation before. I certainly think that the productivity of the board is much improved by having in-person meetings. That being said, we don't necessarily have to have all of them. But we should. And the other thing I wanted to just comment on, Chris, it almost sounds like you're making it more complicated than it needs to be. It doesn't, I don't think everyone, any say remote board member who speaks needs to be seen by everyone.
I'm not saying seen, I'm saying even heard. Like, there's no way to pipe in
right now. Heard, not that
I know of.
I understand, but I guess from on a simplistic level, and again, I'll use Zoom as an example. I know we don't want to use Zoom, but if using it as an example, anyone who speaks into a microphone can be heard by the rest of everybody else on that call. or that production. And something as simple as that can't be done?
Yes, I'm saying it can be done. I'm not saying it can't be done. What I'm saying is I'm going to have to look into it and it's going to take work. And so what I was specifically saying is especially for the August meeting, that's not going to be an option because I'm not going to have the time to set that up. And what I'm also saying is that to do these things, it's a lot more work than the people on the other end appreciate, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not
Okay.
going to debate you
Go
about
ahead.
that. I just urge you to make it as simple as possible and don't worry about cameras and that kind of thing.
This is Debbie.
I'm sorry, Greg. Go ahead, Deb. No, go ahead, Deb.
I know things are different at the state than in the private sector, but through Teams, we have people sitting in conference rooms in different offices and on computers, and they're all talking and seeing each other. And I don't know the technology, but I'm not sure. It doesn't seem overly complicated. Again, excuse me if I don't know the technology.
Teams. Go ahead, Deb. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Because of the pandemic, that's the way some people are in a conference room, other people on their computers at home. And like Greg was saying, everybody can be seen and hearing each other. And maybe it's the initial setup that's complicated.
I know. Well, we're talking about two different things. We're talking about melding two different things. We're talking about having an in-person meeting recorded and also allowing the public access. And what I think Chris is saying is that first of all, he can't do it for August. Secondly, he's saying that he's going to need a team to be able to do this. Thirdly, he's saying that doing it in the regional offices will be even more complicated. And fourthly, he's saying that it's going to be complicated if all the board members are not in the room. So,
I'd also like to say, fifthly, I'm the only person right now who does all of this, and I've never done it before. Right. Even learning these GoToWebinar software when we first started this process, literally 2 weeks before the first board meeting, somebody came to me and said, oh, by the way, can you learn this software package, put it together and present it? I was like, okay, I guess we're going to have to do it because it's under COVID. Now that we're at a much more broader production scale or these grand team meetings that, occur in, boardrooms and, meeting rooms across different things, it takes a lot more to set those up than the people who come to the meetings and sit down and or sit in front of their computer. They have you guys have IT departments dedicated to this. It's just me right now, and this isn't my job.
And hold on, and we can't make this more complicated for Chris. And I may not get approval to do this if Chris. And be careful how you talk to Chris because we don't want him to quit because this is not Chris's job. He has another job and we're all aware of that and we're all respectful of that and we're all very grateful to Chris for everything he does because Chris is always behind the scenes. Don't forget he does the exam. Chris is our person. But what he's saying is that he would have to learn how to do this and he would need a team, and I'm going to have to get approval.
I get it. I just kind of so the thing is, so at all of DEP, there's no live meetings in a conference room where other people are able to participate. That's basically what you're saying.
No, I'm saying there are, and I'm saying other people set them up. For the LSP board, all you have is me. You don't have all those other people in DEP to set up those meetings, is what I'm saying.
But if the equipment is there and it's just a matter of providing, excuse me if I'm over, providing login and call-in numbers like we're doing now, I know that there's the live component, but I have it hard to, It's hard for me to believe
Well,
that
we won't be dealing with GoToWebinar. It won't be. It'll be a different type of software. Okay. Let me
well, I guess
suggest.
for
Let
other please, other board members, I mean, don't you do this in your offices? And once it's set up, it's just it's like GoToMeetings. There's a link that you call in on.
I think the difference is that you have to have the because we'll be in, theoretically, I prefer to be the remote person, but we'll be in one room.
Yes.
And to project it, you do need the cameras set up properly for the room and around the room in certain ways, so that the public, the people that are not there get to see it. But
I guess
I understand what Chris is
doing that.
It's a setup thing for him.
No, but I can't believe that.
Suggestion that we just kind of suspend the conversation for now, because I agree with you, Deb. This should be easy on a Teams type platform.
Okay.
But I think that we should let Chris figure out what the right way to do it is, and then report back to us.
You're right.
Okay. Well, I'll report back, because we're gonna have to figure out. I'll report back on all of this, because it's really complicated, and I get it, Chris. You don't have to say anything else. I get it, and so I will meet with Chris, and Chris and I will decide how we can do this, and because we're gonna have to present this to EEAIT and all of that, because we have to know how much of Chris's time is going to be devoted to this. There's a constellation of things that will have to go into it now that we've heard from Chris about what the particular things are that we need to do. We're not saying that it can't be done. We're just saying Chris and I are going to go back to the drawing board, figure out how to do this, what we can and cannot do, and then we'll come back and advise the board. So while we were discussing this, I picked out all the dates, and I'll go through those and give those so that we will have the dates, the calendar set. Let's say that the meeting for August will still be a GoToWebinar meeting for August, and we'll figure out Chris and I will give a report at the August 8th meeting about how we're going to work this out and what our capabilities are. Is that okay with the rest of the board?
Yeah.
I
Very
think that
good.
makes a lot of sense for give Chris some time and then relax and not worry like that it has to be done in a short period of time.
Yeah, because Chris has other things to do, as I've indicated. He has, and this is like his part-time job. We don't.
Today?
I'm sorry?
Are we going into executive session today?
Yes, it'll be brief. I promise.
Okay.
All right, I'm all ready. So if you'll take this information down, it will be on the website and sent to you in an email. The next board meeting will be August 8th, 2023. It will be via GoToWebinar. We will work on the issues of in-person/virtual meetings and report at that meeting. The next meeting will be September 12th, 2023. The following meeting will be October 10th, 2023. The November meeting will be November 7th, 2023. There is no meeting in December. 14th. I'm sorry?
The 14th is the second Tuesday.
For which month?
November.
Oh, thank you. No, I thought it was the first is the 8th.
November of this year, the 14th is the second Tuesday of the month.
Okay. Got it. I just see that you're right, David. Thank you. There's no meeting in December. The January meeting will be January 9th. The February meeting will be February 6th. No, I'm
13.
sorry, February 13th, that's right. February 13th, I'll reread the list. The March meeting will be March 12th. The April meeting will be April 9th. The May meeting will be May 14th. The June meeting will be June 11th. All right, very quickly, August 8th, September 12th, October 10th, November 14th, January 9th, 2024, February 13th, March 12th, April 9th, May 14th, can't read my own writing, June 11th, and there's no meeting in July. That's our calendar. Is that right?
Correct.
Thank you. All right. That's the calendar. We don't need to vote on it. We're all set. We'll follow up with further discussion on the remote, in-person, virtual issues. And we are adjourning today's board meeting at 2:34. We are going into executive session for one of the 10 purposes specifically under item number 3 to discuss litigation strategy. We will not reconvene at the end of the executive session, and we must take a roll call vote, please, to go into executive session. So, Deb? Hello,
Yes.
Deb?
Karen. Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Thank you. Patrick?
Yes.
Thank you. Kurt?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Thank you. Paul?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Greg?
Yes.
All right. This concludes the public session of the June 13th, 2023 LSP board meeting. We're signing off now to reconvene immediately in executive session.
I sent out a link. You should have all received it for the executive board meeting. So I'll end this meeting and start up the executive board meeting.
Thank you.